Konnichiwa, and welcome to the Samurai Way, the podcast where we dive into the wisdom of the samurai, the art of Japanese living, and the philosophies that help us live with purpose and perseverance. I'm Lori Sagawa, and whether you're here to explore Bushido, the samurai, uncover the meaning of Ikigai, or just looking for a little extra Ganbaru, never give up spirit in your daily life, you're in the right place. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's walk this path together. Are you ready? Let's begin. Konnichiwa, minasan. This is Lori Sagawa, and we are here today with a special guest, but it's the Samurai Way podcast. And this is episode number 33. I'm so excited. We're over halfway through a year and we're gaining momentum. And it's because of you, our listeners, and your interest. So today I would like to introduce our special guest is Cheryl Wright, and her bio is she's a best-selling author, speaker, and empowerment coach who helps others recognize narcissistic abuse, break from toxic relationships, and reclaim their identity. Through her book, Swimming with Alligators, and personal story of transformation, she inspires others to pivot from pain to purpose, and choose healing, strength, and self-worth. She lives in Arizona with her partner and 2 daughters. And I was fascinated with the title of her book. And so I'd like to introduce Cheryl and have her discuss about herself and how she got the name of Swimming with Alligators.
Thank you so much, Lori. I'm really happy to be here with you. The story of my book, Swimming with Alligators, started when I was about 12 as a preteen. And we lived in rural Georgia on the coast, near the coast of the ocean. And there was a swampy waterway that led out into the ocean where we had a boat docked. So on our side of the creek was where all the boats were docked. And on the other side of the creek was a marsh with alligators in it. And we knew they were there. We could see them every now and then. But we decided to go swimming anyway because we thought they're on their side and we're on our side. And they wouldn't come over. And if they did, we probably would see their eyes coming and we would get out of the water. So we we swam, I don't know how many times, quite a few times in the water with the alligators. And as sheer luck, we didn't get eaten or anything. But we did see a water moccasin one day, and that scared us. And we stopped swimming in the water after that. But basically what I've done since then, and I've been through a number of narcissistic relationships, and I finally made this correlation, this metaphor, that narcissists are like alligators, because you may know they're out there, but you don't necessarily know exactly where they are. You think you might see them coming, but you usually don't. And they don't care about your feelings. They don't care if they hurt you, and they'll sneak up on you, pull you under the water before you ever have a chance to know what's coming, thrash you about a little bit. And if you're lucky enough to survive it, nobody gets away without getting hurt. So I made that metaphor, and then that's how I came up with the title of my book.
We can see them in your background behind us.
That's right, there it is.
There they are. So there's some points you wanted to cover, and I think this is really interesting. Recognize the subtle and overt signs of narcissistic manipulation. And to be honest, people that are going towards that way need to, my opinion, align themselves with Bushido, being honest and true and being compassionate and a person, worthy of honor and truthful and all those good qualities. So go ahead, Cheryl.
Yeah, all of that. So Bushido is the way of the warrior, which is rooted in honor and discipline and self-respect. And so just as the samurai lived by a code, we too need to build our own code of self-respect. And this starts with recognizing the subtle and overt signs of narcissism and narcissistic manipulation, and not to excuse them or dismiss them, but seeing the truth clearly. So this helps remind us that the strength isn't necessarily in the sword, but it's in the boundaries that we draw by recognizing what's happening around us.
Well, that's great. That's a really good way to put it, because sometimes, I worked in the prison for about 12 years, and I would hear stories, and I'd hear stories of that type of relationship. And it's like, I've told talk to women about boundaries and how to set them and how not to. It's like your gate. They're the gatekeepers of their lives, and they can't let people in that are going to hurt them or
Right.
be, you know, anything but good for them. You don't want
Right.
to. You can't. It's hard to correct somebody. You can help somebody, but to bring them in close and bring all these wounded wounded people into your lives, you need to be surrounded with strong people.
Absolutely. Having that support system and structure in place is essential, really.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's great. And so that is one of your points. And another one was to retreat with clarity, encouraged by setting boundaries. And we kind of alluded to that,
Yeah.
but in reclaiming safety, but I'll let you continue.
Yeah, thank you. I see retreat as mostly or most closely aligned with Ganbaru, which is the spirit of perseverance. So you're persevering through this difficulty, but not necessarily by clinging to it, right? You don't want to cling to the wrong battle, but learning when is the right time to walk away with courage and dignity. So this doesn't mean that you're giving up. It means
Uh-uh.
that you're reclaiming your own safety and again, focusing on setting those boundaries and then just refusing to fight battles that are going to destroy you. These are you have to pick your battles. And just like if you're climbing a mountain, every step that you get farther away from toxicity is an act of perseverance. This is how it teaches us to keep going. Even if it feels impossible, we can keep going. We can build that strength to keep going.
And how did you overcome that type of
Good
relationship?
question. So when I was going through, I went through multiple narcissistic relationships and I didn't know. I didn't know what it was until I was out of it. And it wasn't until I went back and looked at it that I could actually say, oh, it makes so much sense now. Because I had so much self-doubt and one of the things that narcissists do, they're quite adept at, is manipulating us to think that we're the problem. There's something wrong with me, right? What
Mhm.
did I do wrong? What can I do better? And continually saying, why can't I make this work? And it wasn't until I really was out of it and able to look back at it and recognize what it was. So my goal is really to help people recognize it sooner so that you can make those choices to protect yourself and to
Yes.
heal before you feel like you're completely lost in
All
that
right.
under that water.
That's so true. And I really like the alligator thing because they are sneaky, and, and they can be vicious and they can be,
Yeah.
yeah. So I thought that was very, very interesting.
Yeah. Thank you.
And then resolve to heal, grow, and step ahead into a life of authentic empowerment. So this is finding the real you, and
Yeah.
I'll let you share with us about that.
Yeah, thank you. I think that this applies to a couple of principles. One of them is the Ikigai, which is your reason for being. So this is your purpose. This is what pulls you forward after you've been through that pain. And this is your why that makes all that healing worth it. This is what keeps you going and really striving to be the person you are and reclaiming who that is, your self-identity.
Mhm.
And then the other principle, the Kintsugi, which is the art of mending the broken pottery with gold. We have scars. We all have scars. But this shows us that our scars don't make us less valuable. They actually make us extraordinary. So I like using these two because they remind us that resolve isn't just about surviving abuse. This is about transforming it into authentic empowerment to wholeness and a life that is aligned with our purpose.
And how do you share with your clients or others about how to, okay, once they've learned that lesson, they recognize the lesson and they found it and they can discover, well, this doesn't feel safe, this is wrong, and I shouldn't be feeling this way. And how do they go forward from that so that they don't come back to that?
Yeah, very, very good question. I think a lot of it also depends on the severity of the relationship that they're in, because in the most severe cases, they're probably going to need help, right? You may need help to get out of an abusive situation. In many cases, it might be that you can make that change, but it's really difficult. So
Mhm.
one of the most important things is having a community, having people that you believe that you can trust. And some that can be hard to find sometimes, right? But you find that community, those people that you can trust that can remind you that you made the right choice, you're doing the right thing. Just even the simplest thing like that can be a huge benefit into pulling away. According to domestic violence statistics, on average, it takes a victim 7 times to leave their abusive partner. That is a astronomical number, and that's the average, which means some take less and some even take more. But that's phenomenal to think that it can be that challenging.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's a lot, isn't it?
it is. Yeah.
It's not that they don't, not that they haven't learned. It's that safety, it's a community, it's that manipulation.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, with sexual abuse and any kind of abuse, there is that manipulation that is very powerful.
It is very powerful. And I know one of the questions that a lot of people tend to ask is, why didn't you leave? Why didn't you just leave? And it's so much harder than people realize. That's not a simple question. They
No,
might have control of your finances. I mean, there's that possibility that makes it even more difficult if you don't have a financial way to move forward. And then there's that self-worth where sometimes you are so beaten down that you don't even realize that you can do better. And then they do this flip-flop between being abusive and being loving and kind. And that gives you that dopamine reward every time they switch to being loving and kind, and you get that reward, and it's what you want so desperately. And then when you get that again, it's a dopamine reward. You get that, and you long for that, especially from the person that you probably love. And but it's not going to be very long before it flips to the other side again.
that's right. When I worked in the prison, I had this thought and also had heard that most women have in the prison systems have been abused
Mhm.
and hurt people. And I tell the women that, that probably was done to that person. They didn't learn that on their own. They didn't come up with these horrific ideas.
Right,
Just, or maybe they went through, through magazines or whatever, but they didn't learn it on their own.
right.
And in order for them to um, be really whole, they have to recognize it and just stay away from those types of men. And
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
well,
I
that's
think if the
fun.
more that we can teach people to recognize it sooner,
Uh-huh.
that before you get that deeply ingrained, if you can recognize it sooner, then that might be more helpful, more beneficial to avoiding those types of relationships or repeating patterns like I did. I repeated it several times till I finally learned.
And how did you come to, would you like to share about how you came to the realization that this wasn't healthy, I want and deserve better?
So this is my personal opinion. I think there's always some catalyst. And in each one of the relationships that I was in, there was a turning point. So one of my early relationships was sexually abusive. But that happened a number of times. But what was the turning point for me was when I basically rejected or reacted in the moment, and then he decided to take a pistol and go to the bathroom and act like he was going to take himself out. And that was my turning point. I said, I'm not going to live with the threat
Uh-huh.
of that would be my fault. It is not my fault.
No.
If you're going to do that, you're going to do that. It's not my fault. And so that was one. The second relationship I was in, it became violent. There was violence in that one. And I put up with it actually 2 or 3 times. I never would have thought I would have never thought I would have stayed, but I did. And the point for me in that one was when he yelled at me, "You don't deserve to be loved." And when someone said that to me, I, that was my turning point. Like, wow, like, if, how can you say such a thing to me? I walked out that very moment.
Uh, Good for you.
Examples like that. But I think there's generally some catalyst that's, there's a switch in my brain that flipped and said, that's not right. Yeah.
And so you're living a happy, healthy life now
I am, very much so.
and teaching other women how to do the same.
Absolutely. That is absolutely my goal. I want to help as many women and men sometimes too that live through narcissistic and abusive relationships to say you deserve better and that it's not your fault. Like, because we always think it's my fault. It's my fault. I did something wrong. But, you know, it wasn't my fault for someone to say that to me. It's absolutely not. And so I want to help other people realize that too. It's not their fault and they deserve so much better than that.
That's true. It is true. Where not far from where I live, there was a horrific incident where the police, he wasn't sheriff, police chief, it was a homicide murder.
Mm.
And then in front of the children.
Oh.
But thankfully, the children had the grandparents and the sister and her husband who raised them to be pretty healthy, happy people. And the daughter was going into becoming an attorney because that's what her mom wanted to do. She goes, I want to be a lawyer so that I can help people in this kind of situation, because they were apart. But it just shows that, you can get yourself out of the situation. Yeah. And but it might take help. It might take, know what it takes. You would probably know what it takes more than I do. Have a community, have other people around you, be in a safe place. And
definitely. I think having that support structure again is key. But I also think it's really important that we start to learn who we are again. Yes. And so I did a lot of things. I took a lot of classes. I did ceramics classes, I did welding classes, I did photography, I did pole dancing, I did Toastmasters, I did a lot of different activities to determine, like, where are my strengths? What do I like? What do I enjoy? What makes me feel powerful and confident? And I think people can do that. You can take little steps to say, well, what do I enjoy doing? And something that can prove to me that I am capable and I can do hard things, right? I can climb that mountain. I've got the stamina, I've got the courage, and I can do it.
And not only this could apply to everybody. Maybe somebody's have lost their job, or a change of situation in their lives, in their marriage, or whatever. Yeah. We need to reinvent ourselves, rediscover ourselves, and find out what makes us happy and what makes us, shall we say, tick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know that this podcast has been more than wonderful. I've only been doing it since March, I think, but I am absolutely loving it, and meeting the people and hearing stories and being able to share with others about other people's journeys and giving other people hope. And so we have some really exciting people coming in the future, and we're just getting started. I love this. I love being a podcaster. I mean, I thought I would like it, but now I know I really, really like it. I was also a Toastmaster, and that's where I found my voice. Before that time, I hated speaking in public, and that stemmed from being the middle child, and I had a brother and sister really brilliant ahead of me, and I kind of felt like in their shadows, and being in the middle isn't easy. So we were all, you don't have a voice. You kind of want to blend in and make smooth everything out. But after I took Toastmasters, I found my voice, and I've been doing it I'm not doing it currently, but I did it over 15 years.
Oh, that's amazing. Toastmasters helped me find my voice as well. I didn't have one because of growing up with this attitude of, like, I didn't have the right to speak up. What I said didn't matter, wasn't important, those kinds of things. I was so incredibly afraid of speaking that I would literally I would shake, I would cry. I mean, it was really pretty severe. And Toastmasters definitely helped me to get over that. And I'm still in it. It's been about 4 years now.
Mm-hmm. It is wonderful, and it's wonderful to watch the light bulb go on, and people where they get it, they go, oh, this is exciting, and they found, like, they go through their first 10 speeches and they found something, I love this, and then they do it from different angles, voice and actions and story. So it's real. I just encourage everybody to do Toastmasters
Mm.
because I was listening to on the my husband drives me a lot because of my neck. I was listening to somebody who's going to be, she's campaigning to be a state senator, and I heard, so many times. I said, oh my, should I call her? She says it about every Thursday, and she's a professional. It's like,
Yeah.
it would, you know,
That's too funny.
it is. It
That's
is.
pretty funny, you know?
Toastmasters helps anybody. I think some people say, well, I don't need it. And I said, well, maybe you might not need it in learning how to speak to people, but it can help you listen. And that's really an important art too, because many people don't have that. They are always thinking ahead. What's the retort? What am I going to say to this person?
Right.
Kind of like one up. I had a PT like that. He was always doing that. So I finally said, I'm not talking anymore. I didn't. It was so sad,
Yeah,
uh,
that
you know,
happens.
it was, but I
That
learned.
was that was me. That was me that would people would interject and I usually just stop talking. But I was impressed because I had a doctor that I saw that I think I was trying to get a word in and they just kept talking until they were done. And I thought I could learn from that.
I've had to speak to doctors before, going through TBI, and one doctor told me that there was no correlation between me reading at a seventh grade level and the accident. And I said, oh, really? So I never went back to him. It's like, there's got to be some kind of, you just don't go from, I'm a college graduate, right? Okay, so I don't go down to the seventh grade level for no reason
Right,
in a few weeks. And so I
right.
thought, no, I don't think I need.
Interesting.
Yes,
Yeah.
every doctors have their opinions. I've had a couple that I've had to say, no, I don't agree with you, but I have to
Yeah.
say it nicely. I learned that in Toastmaster, how to say things
How to-
without going ballistic, because
Yeah,
that would get you nowhere.
yeah. We
And
all have our opinions, but when we're dealing with a manipulative person, they have their opinions as well. And I've learned in that scenario, one of the best things that we can do is not to really try to have an argument because they're very happy to do that with you, but it's just to acknowledge, okay, thank you, and
yes,
thank you for your thoughts, and then I will decide what I want to do.
that's a good way. That's a good way, because people are people, and Toastmasters, what I've heard that one of their goals is to um, stop arguments. Stop arguments. And there was one, I heard a story about two out in the bush someplace, and there were two men that actually were Toastmasters, and they were going to go to war, but they decided not to after having a discussion. They said it's not worth it, and it's usually not worth it. So
Yeah, that's amazing.
words are powerful,
They are very powerful.
and they can heal or they can
Yeah, they can
slice and
hurt.
dice.
They can hurt or they can heal. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. So what I would tell people, the women in the prison, is that hurt people hurt people.
Mhm.
And you can learn a healthier way to live, a way for you to live a happy, healthy life. They had everything, they had a roof over their head, they had food, they had the gym, they could go to Toastmasters, they could get their GED, all kinds of
Yes.
skills in the prison. And I said, it's costing you nothing. So take advantage of this time,
Yeah.
get yourself together and find a life that's will be more productive.
Yeah, and I'm always an advocate for people doing education and continuous learning in any fashion. If there's
Mhm.
something you want to learn, go for it. Learn it. Always continue growing and developing yourself because it's only going to help you to
Yes.
to get clearer in who you are and again just to show yourself that you can do
That's
hard
right.
things, right? You can improve and you can climb mountains.
That's true. Well, Cheryl, it's been wonderful speaking with you. And you also mentioned that this month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so that's something that we will put in your information underneath when we post your program, which will be next month. But wanted to know if there's one thing, if you wanted to share about what your big goal is, your legacy, and or a word that you would like to leave with the people before we end.
I think I really would like to just end with the idea that you're worth it. Because it's so easy for us to feel like there's something wrong with us. And I mean, there's how many people talk about imposter syndrome or worthiness or any of those kinds of things that are going on. But the reality is that you are worth it. So take that time to truly recognize what's happening, set the boundaries you need to protect yourself, and strive for what you want because you can do it. Like you're stronger than you think you are.
Yes. And the code of Bushido will help you.
Yes.
Do you have a legacy that you would like to share or a big goal?
My big goal is that I'm working on getting onto a TEDx stage. So that's where I'm headed next.
And
And it
you'll get
will
there.
happen, by golly. I don't have the date yet, but it will happen.
It will happen. It will happen.
Yeah.
Mine happened, interestingly enough. I actually called up the facilitator to one of the TEDx locally, and it's like a little bit north of Seattle. And we had a discussion, and she decided that she wanted to have me as a speaker. And so I did. It was really nice because I didn't have to, but I didn't have to strive. But then I was working with a woman, and she goes, "Well, let's write your speech." So I wrote the speech out. I applied for it. I was rejected. So it just all depends. But you put your stake in the ground, and you put your, like you say, you have your goal, and
Yeah.
you don't give up on it. You just find all the ways that you can do it, and
Right.
even mind map it, and
Right. And many people have said, so it must be true, but that when you visualize something, your brain doesn't always recognize the difference between visualization and reality. So you
right
visualize yourself in that, your brain will treat it like that is really real. It's happening. So that's what I'm working on.
That's good. You have a red dot in your house, a red dot circle carpet.
You know what? I need to get myself a red dot. I don't, but that's probably next on my list.
So that's a wrap for now. I'm so glad that we had you, Cheryl. It was wonderful speaking with you about a topic that isn't often discussed, but some of these topics that I'm bringing up need to be discussed. We don't want to. Life, unfortunately, is not always a smooth road. There are bumps, and knowing how to navigate those bumps. And with the Code of Bushido and Ikigai, Ganbaru, Kintsugi, and Kaizen, always improving. That's what the mission of this program is to find those principles in the samurai and Japanese culture that will help you live a better life, a life of honor, courage, and integrity. So that's a wrap for today. And I want to thank you all for being here. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share this Samurai Way podcast. It's on all the major channels, and we hope to see you again for our next conversation. So that's it. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Mata ne. And that's a wrap for today's episode, The Samurai Way. I hope you found a little inspiration, a new perspective, or just something to reflect upon as you go about your day. Now remember, the samurai spirit isn't just about history. It's about how you show up, face challenges, and live with purpose. Whether it's Ikigai guiding your path or a little extra Ganbaru pushing you forward, keep walking strong. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, share, or leave a review. It really helps. And if you've got some thoughts, questions, or you just want to connect, just contact me. So until next time, stay focused, stay determined, and keep living with purpose. Mata ne.